All right, Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. And if you don't know, if you're new to these videos, the true name of who the world ignorantly calls God, his true name is Yahweh. Right, that's in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Yah means he, Hawa means exist or is, and the true name of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, his true name is Yahweh Shai. Yah means he, Hawa Shai means saves or delivers. And this message goes out to the hopeful elect within the nation of Israel, you Israelites being the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. And I want to do this quick video, Lord willing, it's edifying and straight to the point, because I was scrolling on social media a couple of weeks ago and I came across these Christians, right? They talk a lot about rapture anxiety. They talk a lot about rapture anxiety, which, briefly, if you search it, it says rapture anxiety, it says is a physiological, meaning a mental phenomenon that involves an intense fear or general anxiety about the Christian belief in the rapture. The rapture is an eschatological position held by some Christians, particularly those of American evangelism. Right, so it says it's a phenomenon characterized by an overwhelming fear or general anxiety concerning the Christian belief in the rapture. And the reason I wanted to speak about this real quick is because you got Christians that'll, they will try to, they'll tell you that you're not supposed to have rapture anxiety because the day of the Lord is not going to be a trial. Pretty much they say that you're just going to get beamed up and teleported out of here. All right. And they say that, that's all that's going to happen. So there's nothing to be worried about, or there's no need for rapture anxiety. And I just wanted to shed light on that topic, using the scriptures. So, to really set the record straight on the rapture and that it's not even nowhere in the scriptures. All right. And to speak on that term, rapture anxiety. So real quick, I'm going to get the scripture though. Right. Amos 5:20. It says, shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it. All right. So it said the day of the Lord is going to be darkness and not light. Meaning it's going to be a hard, rough time. It's going to be a terrible time. It's going to be a day of the Lord. Actually, I should have started at verse 18. It says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. And woe means destruction. So it's saying destruction unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went to the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. Right? So the day of the Lord is going to be a dark time, and it's going to be a time full of destruction and uneasiness. And you have certain Christians that'll say that the rapture is how, right? They say that the rapture is how the believers are going to get delivered. And then they say that, like I said, I was watching a post and you had this Christian white looking dude, right? Probably an Edomite. You had him talking about how there's no need to have rapture anxiety. He said a lot of Christians get anxious and they fear the day of the Lord. But he was saying that, oh, no, there's no need to fear that because, the rapture is just going to happen in a blink of an eye and we're going to get teleported out of here. Right now, a couple things. One, the rapture, that word is not in the scriptures. All right. If you type it in right here, right, rapture, that word does not appear in the scriptures. So one, that should already tell you that there is no such thing as a rapture. All right. That whole concept, that whole idea was created by this man right here. When you look it up, right, it was created by a man named John Nelson Darby. All right. So real quick, just to read a little bit, it says, the concept of the rapture, a central doctrine in many American evangelical and fundamentalist circles, though it is not central within Christian history globally, has its roots in the I'm gonna try my best to say all these words, has its roots in the dispensationalist teachings of John Nelson Darby, a prominent Christian preacher in the 19th century. Dispensationalism is a theological system that divides history into distinct periods or dispensations, each with its own unique characteristics and requirements for how God interacts with humanity. Darby's view on dispensationalism and the rapture were based on its understanding of biblical prophecy, particularly the books of Daniel and Revelation. According to Darby, the current church age was a parenthesis in God's plan for Israel, and the end times would be marked by a series of catastrophic events and the rise of a global government under the Antichrist. Right? Before the tribulation period, right? They say Christ, we know it's Hamashiach, would return secretly to rapture the church, gathering believers up to meet him in the air and eventually returning to earth to bring final judgment and establish Hamashiach's millennial kingdom on earth. This was in contrast to the conventual view of theology up until this point. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but as you can see, that rapture doctrine was created, right? It was created by a man, John Nelson Darby. All right. So this whole thing was created. So a lot of you Christians that walk around talking about the rapture this, the rapture that, one, that's not in the scriptures. Two, that whole concept was created, like we just read a little bit of the history, and you can research it yourself on the man John Nelson Darby. So that whole thing was fabricated and created. So one, you got Christians talking about rapture anxiety. Rapture doesn't exist. All right, so get that out the way. And then number two, which is something I wanted to highlight on, you got Christians saying that the day of the Lord is nothing to prepare for, right? That the day of the Lord is nothing to worry about, it's nothing to prepare for. And, that goes completely against the scriptures, all right? Meaning you're not supposed to be anxious about the day of the Lord, but you are supposed to prepare for the day of the Lord spiritually, by building up your spirit and by building up your faith in this grace period that we have. All right. We understand that the day of the Lord is, like we read in Amos, a day of darkness, right? It's going to be a dark time, meaning it's going to literally, physically and mentally and spiritually on all levels. It's going to be dark outside. Hey, it's going to be a day of tribulation. All right. We know all hell's going to break loose, Jacob's trouble. So that's a time that we are supposed to prepare for, spiritually. 1 Peter, all right, this is 1 Peter 4:18. It says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So this scripture right here cuts that whole rapture doctrine, and it gives us some insight on to how the day of the Lord is going to be, right? It said, if the righteous scarcely be saved. Now, when you go into that word scarcely, all right, it says what? It scarcely meaning what? With difficulty, hardly, not easily. All right. So it's going to be a very difficult and hard. And it said what? If the righteous scarcely be saved. So if we replace that word scarcely with difficult, or let me see. If we replace that word scarcely with hardly, all right, not easy. There we go. So it says what? And if the righteous hardly be saved, right? If the righteous very difficultly be saved. Now I'm trying to think of a proper phrase with the, with what the synonyms of what the word mean. But you get the point, right? Scarcely means it's going to be very hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. So the righteous, meaning what? The elect, right, out of the nation of Israel here in America, are gonna we're just gonna make it. It's gonna be a hard situation. We're gonna scarcely be saved, meaning with difficulty, meaning we're just gonna escape by the hair on our heads. We're just gonna make it. That's why it says, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Meaning, if the hopeful elect, if they are gonna, if they are just gonna make it, it's gonna be a very hard and difficult time, even for the Lord's elect. Then ain't no way that these ungodly people are gonna make it, man. Right? But what did I get? I got that scripture to prove what? That it's going to be a trial even for the elect. The day of the Lord is going to be a trial, right? A test for the elect. All right. If the elect are going to scarcely be make it, that doesn't sound like the rapture doctrine where they say that, they say that Yahweh Shai, right, who they call Christ, they say that Yahweh Shai is just going to appear in the sky and secretly out of nowhere beam up uh, the believers. Well, that just went completely against what we read, because it said the righteous are going to scarcely be saved, meaning the righteous are just going to make it, right? Meaning they're going to be going through a trial. They're going to be going through a heavy situation they're just going to be delivered. That doesn't sound like being secretly delivered. You look at how they paint the rapture in these TV shows and movies. They make it seem like you're just going to be eating dinner with your family, and then all of a sudden people just going to disappear at the table. You're going to be at a Disney park, you're going to be at Disneyland or Six Flags, and all of a sudden people are just going to randomly start disappearing. You're going to be at the park, you're going to be getting food at Wingstop, and then all of a sudden the dude serving you wing is just going to randomly disappear. And then those who are left on earth are going to go through hell. That's nowhere in the scriptures, man. That's nowhere in the scriptures. Right? That's nowhere in the scriptures. That's completely off. The day of the Lord is going to be when all hell breaks loose, right? Jacob's trouble, when all hell breaks loose here in America. Mainly here in America and the other parts of the world, but mainly here in Babylon the Great, because this is the most wicked kingdom on the planet Earth that the Lord is about to judge. So the day of the Lord is going to be a day when all hell breaks loose here in America, right? Now, there are tons of scriptures I could get on it, but I'm just going to get a couple more, and Lord willing, that'll hit the point, right? Zephaniah 1:14. It says, the great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. All right. So it said mighty men are going to cry bitterly. That should show you how terrible of a time it's going to be if mighty men are going to be crying, right? Strong warriors are going to be crying. People like Mike Tyson, Floyd, all those UFC fighters, all these mighty men, if they're here in America, they're going to be crying, like they're going to be shitting their pants. It's going to be such a scary and terrible day. It says that day is a day of wrath and a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Now, if you ask me, that doesn't sound anything like the rapture, because they equate the rapture to the day of the Lord. They equate the rapture to that's when the Lord is going to secretly come back, which that makes zero sense, right? That makes zero sense. The scriptures tell us in Acts that the same way the Lord left is the same way he's going to come back. The same way Yahweh Shai left is the same way he's going to come back. And he left on a chariot, what the world knows as so-called UFOs. So that's how he's going to come back, is with the chariots. All right, and it ain't gonna be a stealth mission with the chariots. All right, Yahweh Shai and the holy angels, right? Because those are who are in the chariots. Yahweh Shai and the holy angels are gonna come back boldly, right? It's not gonna be no secret stealth mission. All right, so it says what? Again, the day is a day of wrath and a day of trouble and distress, right? So what are they talking about with the rapture when you're just gonna get beamed up out of nowhere? No. Clearly, the scriptures is painting the visual image for how the day of the Lord is going to be. It's going to be a day of trouble and distress. This is clearly what the scriptures say. Clearly, the day of the Lord is going to be a terrible apocalyptic setting on the planet Earth, man. And we know that it's talking about what? Here in America, Babylon the Great, right? the most wicked kingdom there ever was. This place is going to get judged, right? During Jacob's trouble. Who's Jacob? The Israelites' trouble. That's the day of the Lord, when all hell is going to break loose in America. America is going to become a lawless society, right? Esau, the wicked elite, are going to release their, army and military troops and advanced technology to start killing and subduing you civilians. You're going to have apparitions running loose. The average civilian is going to lose their mind. So it's going to be a day of all hell breaking loose here in America, right? It says, a day of trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord. And their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Right? Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. All right, so clearly the Lord is not playing. All right, the day of the Lord is a day of death and destruction. All right, he's going to devour this place in the fire of his jealousy. Ultimately, we know it's biblical prophecy that America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles in the Third World War, right? That's that fire. Okay. And lastly, I want to end it here, because you're not supposed to have, like I said, they said rapture anxiety. Well, you're not supposed to have anxiety over the day of the Lord, right? Now that we know what the day of the Lord is, right? It's going to be a day of when all hell breaks loose in America. And that's going to be a judgment for the wicked, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. And then it's going to be a testing period for the Lord's elect. And then ultimately we're going to get delivered up out of here in the chariot. Right? And we understand that. But we're not supposed to be anxious, but we are supposed to prepare our spirits for that day. Right? This is Ephesians 6. And I'm going to get to the point at 16. It says, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So we have to continuously take the shield of faith, right? Faith is like a shield, and it'll protect you. It'll protect your spirit and protect your mind from the fiery darts of the wicked. All right. And that's literally and spiritually, man. Literally, through our faith, through our belief in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we are going to be protected when all hell breaks loose, right? Through our faith. All right. But then also spiritually, we know we're at spiritual warfare with these spirits, right? With the different spells that the wicked elite, the Edomites, push out on the society. So we got to take on faith. Right? It says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So why do you think it said praying with all prayer and supplication in the spirit? Okay. It said what? The word supplication, it says need, indigence, want, privation, right? A seeking, asking, entreating. So what are you praying and supplication in the spirit? What are you praying for and asking in the spirit? What? You're praying for the Lord to continue to build you up in the spirit, to increase your faith, to prepare your mind for these times to come. Right? We're not supposed to be anxious about the destruction that's coming, but we are supposed to spiritually build up ourselves, meditate on what is coming down the line, right? Grow closer to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, our powers, and build up our faith. That's why it said, and watching thereunto. Watching for what? Watching for the signs, of the day of the Lord, which is prophecy. So you're supposed to watch, and with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So you're supposed to watch, man. Watch for the day of the Lord, in what? Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the spirit, right? So you're not supposed to be anxious, right? The scriptures tell us not to be anxious, but you are supposed to use your discernment and foresight to build up your spirit and your mind for the terrible, chaotic day that's going to come when all hell breaks loose here in America. All right. So Lord willing, that was edifying. Right. Like I said, to sum it up, there is no such thing as the rapture. That was a fabricated belief. And you are not supposed to be anxious for the day of the Lord. You are supposed to just be spiritually and mentally ready, right? By building up your faith and constantly being in prayer unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So Lord willing, this video was edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash Shalom.